will work in and through all things for the good. Now, I've invited my friend, Sue Hoffman, to join us this morning. I recently had an opportunity to visit with Sue. We've sat down several times, and she's quickly becoming one of my favorites. Not that I have favorites here. But one thing I loved about Sue's story is that there's so much richness in it. And I'd just like to welcome her to the stage. So can we get loud, Grace Fishers? Now, Sue, you've been a part of Grace Fishers for roughly 5 years or so, and you shared a little bit about your journey at the very beginning of your time here. Could you share with us about that?
My husband and I moved here August 31st, 2018. In February of that year, he was diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer. Now, we had lived in Carmel, Indiana for 18 years, but relocated to Grand Rapids, Michigan. That was our hometown. So once he determined that he knew his life was going to end quickly, he said, let's move back to Indiana. My youngest daughter lives here. So that's what we did. So we came here, started coming to Grace Church, and I don't know, it just felt so welcoming. And we'd been married 54 years, and my husband had been a church attender, but he had never really committed his heart to the Lord. And so during that time of his facing his death, he realized what he had been missing, and he actually grieved that it took him so long to be able to just say, why did I wait so long to give my life to the Lord? Anyway, I think one of the first weeks right after service, Ron Stoller, who was one of our pastors at the time, got talking to us, and I don't know, they just made us feel so welcome. They started coming to visit us. My husband did all right with his cancer diagnosis up until the end of November, and at that time, when he came home into hospice, he was in hospice for 9 days, he wanted to be baptized. So Ron and Kevin came to my home, and on that Monday, he was baptized. And once he got through with his baptism, he put up his hands and he said, I want to see Jesus. Oh, it was so overwhelming. And my kids were there. My oldest daughter lives in Atlanta, but is relocating here in another week. And my grandkids were there, my adult grandsons, I should say. It was just such a, I don't know, I can't even explain to you how it felt to see how he had surrendered himself. His memorial was on December 9th. And even though, really nobody knew him that well, Ron made that memorial here for him so personable. And I just can't tell you how much that has meant to our family to see my husband, after all those years, give his life to the Lord. And I've been praying for that for so many years. It was just like, I know we always think we should be able to say, I want it now, but we all know that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, and I remember you telling me about that, and appreciate you sharing that part of your story. And the joy that your husband had, that just really stood out to me, and your perseverance in praying. But another thing that stood out to me, again, was how you were embraced by this community, how you found community, and even after your husband's passing, how you became involved and how you continued in this community despite having undergone some bad circumstances. So could you share just a little bit about that?
Yes, probably the week or so after Ron had passed, after hearing some of the music that was being, worshiping at that time, I got really emotional, and a couple came from behind. It was actually Louise Kinney, and she came down and consoled me. Well, then the next week she came again, and she invited me to be part of a group called Epilogue. They're believers that are from different churches, but we meet twice a month, and we discuss either a book or a podcast. So that was sort of the beginning, and then I started thinking about it. I really did a lot of things I forgot I did, I was part of Rooted, and that was great. I've made some friends through that. I'm part of the ladies' Bible study. I do First Impressions. I'm also providing a meal a month for a foster family. I also do grief card ministry for the church, along with Anne Marie Venna. we bless people who have lost somebody they love by sending them an initial card and then follow-up cards 4 times a year, just to let them know that we're still praying for them. And in my own life, I'm secretary of our homeowners association. And I have a 27-year-old grandson that likes me so much he lives with me.
Hey.
The rent is cheap.
Well, and you're a very likable person, so.
Oh, thank you. Well, and it's so nice to have my youngest daughter living here. She's gone through a few ups and downs recently, and so we've really bonded closer, and she really misses her dad. Actually, my oldest daughter and her dad always got along well, but she always felt like it wasn't quite the same as with her sister. So those 9 days when he was transitioning to his death, oh, that was such a wonderful thing to experience. The love she showed him. I couldn't have done it without her. I really couldn't have.
And you also, many of you don't know, but she sits at our front desk.
Oh, for preschool?
During the day, during preschool, and that's actually how we've gotten to know each other. We've sat down a handful of times, and I've gotten to know your story. And you shared a phrase with me, just kind of concerning ministry and serving, and I wonder if you could share that and just expound upon that.
Well, I just believe that you've got to bloom where you're planted. Obviously, I'm a pretty social person, and I am so excited that I can be friends with people of all different ages. I've got some young men who always give me a hug every week, so that's nice. And, it's just a blessing, really, because I have felt so loved, and I know that, you get back what you give.
Sue, thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. Can we just give her a round of applause? Thank her.
Thank you.